Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Blue Abroad YouTube channel. I'm your host, Aris Dematakos, and we're back with another episode of The Rest. I'm joined, as always, every week by Nathan. Mate, how you going?
Look, not as good as most weeks. Tough loss for us, but yeah, again, things are heating up in before the finals, so looking forward to it. But
Yeah,
tough week for us too.
it is tough week, and I feel like the win loss pattern of the Blues has kind of has been depicted through our moods on this show. But with the footy actually starting to mean something, with finals only under a month away, there is a lot to speak about, and let's just get into it. But unfortunately, before we speak about the actual football and some really good games happened over the weekend, we're going to have to speak about a very unfortunate incident that happened on Saturday night. Granted, it wasn't the Carlton game, but I feel like it's too big of a story not to speak about it. It was, I mean, unless you've been living under a rock, basically Adam Saad has had some not very nice things said towards him, and it was first flagged after the game, or maybe even during the game, by the Carlton cheese squad, I do believe. And good on them, firstly, for calling it out and exposing it on a public platform, because it's an issue that definitely needs to be spoken out against, to put it frank. And it kind of has, rightfully blown up and has become an issue because he was called a terrorist either once or multiple times. I don't actually know. And the Cheer Squad were right in calling it out and being public about it. It seems like every 3-4 weeks something is happening where we just sit here and think, how far do we have to go before we just can live in a world where just people are nice to each other? I feel like it's almost unrealistic, but I feel like it's not that much to ask, is it?
Oh, well, not at all. I feel like sadly it's inevitable, like that these things are going to happen, no matter where you are. Because I guess it's easy. It would be easy in this circumstance to say, "Oh, Adelaide people, South Australians," but it's everywhere, and
Yeah.
this is just one case of you know who knows how many others that are heard. I think the frustrating thing was not so like it was the fact that it got said, they got talked to, and nothing was done.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's that teach that person? And that basically says, look, don't say that again. Go sit down and make whatever other comments you want.
Yeah. And I mean, apparently it was said by, from what I've seen, a younger person, but that doesn't excuse that, in my
No,
opinion. Like, and it doesn't excuse the punishment, which was a talking to. That person, regardless of age or whatever, should have been thrown out and banned from not only the Adelaide Oval, but from football events, if not for life, then for a long, long time. Because when you're doing this, like it's almost beyond the realm of even trying to explain why it's bad, because I mean, I would like to think that we all know why it's bad to do these things, to do this stuff and say these sort of things, but I feel like it's not sticking in the head of some people, by the looks of things. And that is the comments were bad, yes, that's obviously undeniable, but the lack of proper repercussions is potentially the more disappointing thing. And it just shows that, like, yeah, the comments were said, which shows how far back we are, or how far we need to go. But the lack of repercussions also shows how far we need to go in terms of stamping this out, because it's not the first time it's happened, and unfortunately, and it's going to suck. It's not going to be the last time that's going to happen. So, I mean, it's just one of these things that whenever it happens, because it's inevitable, unfortunately, it needs to be stamped out and needs to be seriously dealt with, because it's how are we not dealing with these issues like really harshly in 2022? I don't know, but yeah, it is just. I mean, you could say, like you said, you can say all you want about the state, the city, whatever. It's a human issue. It's not an Adelaide issue. It's not a Adelaide Crow supporter based issue. It's nothing. it is a human issue that we need to stamp out because it's everywhere, like you said. So, what were your final thoughts on it?
It was sadly I wasn't surprised. It I read it and I thought,
Yeah,
not like no surprise. It's a normal issue, which is a bad thing. It shouldn't
yes,
be a normal issue. It should be an issue that does not occur very often. I got to say, I was glad Adelaide, the club, responded to the issue very soon after, and I think that shows growth in their club, considering the events that have happened with them in the past. That was good that they showed the initiative. And to be honest, I was surprised Saad came out because I don't think he needed to do that. You know,
and just to interrupt there, I'm surprised how calm
yeah,
and how articulate he was about it. Because if I was in his situation, I would have not been very happy at all. So I mean that shows that's credit to him. It shows what type of a person he is.
yeah, that's spot on. It's just a disappointing topic. Uh,
Yeah,
like I said, it just comes back to like I sit there and think, how did they not get kicked out?
yeah.
And not even like just because of what they said. Does the stadium like not have policies
Protocol.
regarding
Yeah,
just like not even like a racist comment, just like a derogatory comment towards anyone in general, and that was at the worst, and
yeah.
he stayed. So look, we
Even
go back how many years ago? Quickly, the
yeah,
the maggots thing where people got kicked out for umpire abuse, and yet
exactly.
this is fine. This is fine.
Yeah.
It's all right.
I mean, even on a basic level, surely this is the like ultimate example of antisocial behavior, and
Yeah,
you get kicked out for antisocial behavior. Is that not
yeah,
even if we just take away the human, maybe not human, but the societal aspect of it? If you do that, if you do really, let's dumb it down. If you do that in a footy ground, you get kicked out. Fact, like that should just be protocol regardless. Why wasn't it there? I think it goes to, I mean, now the Adelaide Oval, and they need to come out and explain, because I mean, like I said, like I said, this sets a dangerous precedent, doesn't it? Because if someone can say this, and if regardless of age, I feel like there is an age where you know right from wrong, and there's an age where you know, especially now with how vocal and how publicized these issues are. Yeah, the age of knowing right and wrong, especially when it comes to these type of issues, is getting lower and lower. Like I have a 10-year-old cousin. I know that he knows what is right and wrong in terms of these type of scenarios. I don't think that can be used as an excuse. I don't think age, to an extent, or can be used as an excuse to even a slight extent, in my opinion.
it's just one of those things where you can only keep teaching and you can only hope that things
Yeah,
get better. And people like Adam Saad, you know, they are the ones that take it further. And he's had heaps of programs that he's run for Muslim children that are, looking to get into football, building a community. And hopefully that spreads out to the wider AFL community. And we can only hope it reduces because, like we said, I don't think it's ever going to stop, but you can only hope it reduces over time.
yeah, 100%. And like I said before, credit to Adam Saad for the way he's handled it, because he's a model person. I think the world will be a much better place if there was a lot more Adam Sards running around. But let's move on to the football, because let's brighten the show up a little bit. Let's move to the football, and let's go to Friday night. And yeah, we all know Melbourne were great, but Freo looked feeble, to put it in a blunt term. They looked like they shunned away from the prime time lights once again. Are they just too raw to win the premiership? Are they just not ready? Is everything there just they needed a couple more years? Because I mean, is it a mentality thing? What is it? Why? Because in my opinion, Freo can't win the flag based on what I've seen. Why can't they?
Yeah,
if you think that
no,
they can.
they are too raw, and if we go back to the preseason, I don't think anyone would have looked at their list and said this is a list ready to win a premiership. There was clearly room for improvement for growth over time, and I didn't see them doing as well as they did this year. I sort of saw them being that like that pushing into the 8 team like close. So they've exceeded my expectations. I think they didn't take Melbourne serious enough because I don't think that was obviously anywhere near their standard, as you can say for another navy blue team on Saturday night. But no, there's nothing I look at and think, geez, I'm worrying about these guys. They don't have what it takes. They're a team that's growing. I don't think anyone at Fremantle, I mean, of course they all strive for a flag, but no one serious would have said, okay, this team's ready for a premiership. Still probably a couple of years off, like those, developing teams at the moment in the 8.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's an interesting point to touch on because I remember last year they played the Cats at home on a Friday Saturday night. I can't remember
Yeah.
when it was, but it was prime time and they got dealt with in embarrassing fashion. Is this becoming an unfortunate trend because they just can't seem? I mean, I backed them pre-game. I thought Melbourne at Optus, if you're going to stamp your authority and really announce yourself and be like, yeah, we're a premiership threat, that is a game where simply you have to win. And even if you don't win, you need to really show that you could have won. Freo didn't look likely at all throughout that game, and neither did they look likely at all last year. So it is one of those things where is the like obviously to win a flag you need to win big games, obviously. And we've seen teams like Brisbane, who we'll touch on a little bit later, but aren't they just haven't shown that they can win those big games. Is that going to creep into that Freo mentality a little bit and really hinder them come finals this year, next year, and the year after?
I will certainly hurt. I don't think they would have come out of that with a heap of confidence. It's probably lucky they beat them a couple months ago. That definitely helps the cause. Going back a bit, I feel like this game in general, as much as the primetime seems to just hate Fremantle, I think Melbourne and Optus is like a second home ground in my opinion, just based off what they've done. So the whole travel thing doesn't like apply when Melbourne goes over. It's a weird thing, but they don't lose there very often anymore. Look, the one part of that game that I sort of saw, and I think a couple of people picked this up, got memed a little bit, was just Mundy sitting there on the bench, just like staring into nothing for about 10 seconds. Think he sort of knew, at least for him, and obviously retired. We can touch on that. We haven't put that there, but we will touch on that.
I've just added it.
We will touch on that. But yeah, I think he sort of knew this team doesn't have what it takes to premiership challenge. I still think they'll be very competitive in finals, especially if you're a team who has to travel over there. They can beat anyone. Fremantle, I just think it was a off game for them. Didn't show their best, but still warning signs. That's not the thing you want to see 4 rounds leading into the finals.
Yeah, I mean, even I shudder to say this phrase, but even an honourable loss in that circumstance, Freo fans could have been like, okay. I don't speak. I'm not speaking on behalf of Freo supporters, but I feel like Freo could have say they went down by 4 points, 5 points, whatever. They could have turned around and said, all right, we're there. Like we really could have won if it was under a kick or under 2 kicks. Really could have won that game. Yes, it was at home, and yes, we probably should have won if we want to win the flag. They're games that we probably need to win purely out of mentality things more than anything, more than like ladder positions or whatever. But it was the way that they lost. They just didn't look likely at all. And in finals, you're very rarely given a second chance in games. If a team hits you early, especially finals, especially top 4 teams, they'll more than likely put you to the sword. So it was more the way that they. It was more. I was more concerned in the way that they lost rather than them actually losing. So I guess we'll have to wait and see. Now the top 4 race is getting very competitive. Obviously, Collingwood have now thrown themselves into the mix somehow. Do Freo get the double chance? Question without notice.
I don't think so. I'm not even confident they'll travel to Marvel and beat the Dogs, purely because it's sort of. I feel like Dogs have more to play for than Freo.
I
Freo
would agree.
need probably still one more win, just because they've got that half win. But
Yeah,
it's a look tough call, and I can't think off the top of my head who they have in the last 2 rounds, but I think one's GWS and
they've got the
one's
Derby.
West Coast. Okay.
Yeah, or the Derby.
No, I don't think they make the top 4, but I think 5th. I think they might just miss out.
So
I think it depends on Collingwood, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, they're not on the run sheet, but I feel like it's the elephant in the room. It does depend on Collingwood, and they do have do have 3 tough games remaining of the season. I just see Freo having enough. I think the top 4 that we've all thought for the whole season, that Geelong, Melbourne, Brisbane, Freo, I feel like you'll just shape that way. I feel like that's the most natural top 4. And then, I mean, 5th to 8th is fight amongst yourselves type thing where anyone can beat anyone. I mean, anyone can beat anyone in the top 4. So, I mean, it's going to be a great final series. But let's go from a team battling for top 4 to a team battling for top 8. It's the Tigers. And we've spoken about the top 4 race, and we've even spoken about the top kind of 6 race. But the race for 8th and the race for finals, which no team seems to want to win, it seems like from 7th to 10th, there's 4 teams in real contention to both play and miss out, and that includes us, St Kilda, the Tigers, and the Dogs. Are the Tigers the most dangerous team in that bunch? Because I mean, that second half on Sunday afternoon was frightening.
Yeah. I mean, personally, I wouldn't like to play Richmond. I don't think anyone would.
No,
I think
definitely not.
Based off of what they've shown over the last 5 years, that team still has way too much experience in a good way.
Yeah.
You look at the other 3, you got Carlton, St Kilda, who speaks for themselves. St Kilda have had a little bit.
Yeah.
And then Bulldogs, you could argue, but
I just think
they've had finals experience.
Yeah, I just don't trust them. I just think they're so inconsistent, and there's just something about that team where we've seen them be embarrassed, and we've seen them embarrass teams, and there seems to be no in between with them. It's bizarre.
Yeah.
It's quite bizarre because we saw what they produced against Sydney, and we saw what they produced against Melbourne. So it's like, I think they're just touching on the Dogs briefly. I think the gulf between their best and their worst is probably the biggest out of all the teams, out of St Kilda, Carlton, and Richmond. I know St Kilda's is quite big, and even Carlton's, we saw on the weekend just how bad the worst can be. But the Dogs have the most catching up to do. I feel like the Tigers have got themselves into a really good position now where they can just romp at home. They've got an easy run. They've got their toughest test will probably be on Saturday night against Port Adelaide. If they can dispatch of them with ease, which I think at the G, it's in Adelaide, isn't it? So we know that Port Adelaide have had a pretty good record against the Tigers in Adelaide, I think. Or it hasn't been. Yeah. It's very the Port will be capable of beating them over there, but if the Tigers can make a statement and romp at home, really dispatch of them with ease, and then win their next 2 games against Hawthorn and the Bombers, I think, that's going to be a frightening prospect come September. I would not want to be the team standing across from them in the first week of finals.
Well, which is looking to shaping up to look like a Sydney or a Brisbane that finishes in that 5th. So would not want to play Richmond, especially in elimination. Who knows? However, if they turn up in that like they did in that first half, then
I mean, it was a tale of 2 halves. It's bizarre, isn't it? It's bizarre. I'm still undecided in a sense.
I think it's just because we look at them and think, okay, they're at a point where they are definitely beatable and their weaknesses are being exposed very well now. But they also have the potential and the experience to change games in a matter of 5-10 minutes, get in the groove, and you can't stop them. And I think that's what people are unsure, what Richmond will turn up. But this Port game is probably the easiest of them all. I think we won't see Port Adelaide turn up for the rest of the season. I think Saturday killed them a bit. Yeah, and I think it will have a bit of a negative effect this season, just in the future. But I just don't see Port Adelaide turning up. I don't think there's anything to play for, and I think there'll be a couple of debutants. One of those type of rounds.
Yeah, I mean, the logic. I mean, maybe not logic, but I feel like it's the teams that sit maybe between the 16th and 12th or 11th are the teams that are more likely to stuff up finals chances for other teams. Yeah. So, I mean, you'd think that, the Tigers at 50% should probably dispatch of the Hawks quite comfortably, you'd think. Yeah. And the Bombers in the last round, Essendon would love to ruin Richmond's final chances, no doubt. Do Port have that vendetta? Probably not, unless they're still salty about 2020. But it's going to be interesting because it's probably if you look at Carlton, St Kilda, the Bulldogs, and Richmond, every single team has tough games. This could be the round to decide the 8. Carlton play Brisbane. St Kilda play who do they? They play Geelong in Geelong. Who else? The Doggies play Freo, and Richmond play Port Adelaide. This is the round that will shape the bottom 2, in my opinion. I feel whatever team. If all 4 teams win, then I think the 8's locked in. Would you agree?
I do agree. I'm not looking forward to it. It's just.
I'm not. Definitely not.
Look, and I've said this to a couple of people after having no finals for 9 years. Usually, I would take mathematics over everything, but we're actually in that top 8 at the moment, so I'll take it. I'll take it for now until it does come down to mathematics, and I'll still take it.
Yeah, let's speak about this bottom 2, this bottom 4, like 7th to 10th, because I feel like this is the talking point for the rest of the AFL, or for the rest of the season. This is going to be the focus, in my opinion. You look at if you look at the run home for every team, St Kilda probably have the hardest run home. They play Geelong, Sydney, and Brisbane. All 3 sides sit in the top 5. Brisbane are only percentage out of the top 4. The reason I said that if all 4 teams win, the 8 is set, because I feel like if St Kilda can beat Geelong in Geelong, that will give them every bit of confidence they need to beat both Sydney and Brisbane at Marvel. Whereas if they lose in a fashion that we've seen St Kilda lose before, then it could be a doomsday scenario, in my opinion.
I think this week, if they lose, done.
Yeah.
And yes, mathematically, they're good a chance as any, but they're not, I don't know where they find the confidence to beat Brisbane after losing to Geelong. And in all honesty, you saw what Geelong did to the Bulldogs, and you saw what Bulldogs did to St Kilda. Not shaping up to be a great contest on Saturday night. I don't know if that's a free-to-air game as well, but
I think it might be.
Who knows?
I think it might be.
That's great for the neutrals, but it's not looking good for St Kilda. And I speak as having family that follow St Kilda and sort of having a second team in St Kilda, and that I don't think many of them want to be in finals purely off what they've produced. I don't think the season they've had would shape up well in finals. But if you think, like you said, if they beat all these 3 teams, then they'll feel like they're meant to be there out of nowhere.
Well, that's
after.
yeah.
So it's
I mean,
odd. It's very odd.
we spoke about this a couple of weeks ago. We spoke about how much St Kilda have been slightly disappointing in their season, yet somehow they're in the 8. And if even if they win 2 of their last 3, they'll probably make the 8 if they win 2 of the last 3.
Yeah.
It'll probably take Richmond winning all 3 for them to miss out, and Carlton maybe winning at least 1. But let's just assume they get in. If they get in, they'll have to win at least 2 of their last 3 minimum. So
Pretty much, yeah.
that will give them confidence to beat any team, regardless of the ground or the time or weather, whatever. Because you're gonna have to have that confidence, and even if it's false confidence, you're gonna have to believe it if you're gonna have any chance. And I don't know how we're talking about the Saints being in this position, because
That's the thing.
a month ago
I
they're
don't
dead
think
and buried.
I don't think we've seen a team that's had such a poor season, like sitting in 8th with 3 weeks to go.
Yeah,
I'm like baffled. And what it's a good season. It's a great season. I just wish we were in a different position to look down on this and just
yes,
you know.
stress free.
But
No,
the
of course
reality
we're in it.
is, our team can end up in 10th. So
That's a very real reality as well.
This can go anyway. Yeah, can't wait. Thumbs up.
I mean,
2 thumbs up.
yeah, before we move on, let's touch on the Dogs, because I feel like we haven't really spoken about them. They probably have maybe not the easiest run, because I feel like Richmond have probably the easiest run, but their test is this week. It's against Freo at Marvel. Now, if they can overcome them, which we've seen the Dockers be somewhat susceptible at Marvel Stadium at times, they host the Giants at Marvel as well before traveling to Tasmania to versus the Hawks. Now, they are the team that needs to win more than anyone else. They can't afford to drop any games if they want to make the 8, in my opinion, because even though they've won the same amount of games as Richmond, the draw gives them that extra boost. And I feel like we all have a little bit more confidence in Richmond than we do the Dogs.
Yeah.
Can you see them making it if they beat Freo? Would you say if they beat Freo this week and somehow ended the round in the 8, they would be favourites to make it?
Yeah, realistically, I think whoever finishes 8th out of Richmond Bulldogs, because I don't see St Kilda winning. And to be honest, even if St Kilda win, I don't see them winning 3 in a row. I don't see them beating those 3 teams consecutively. I just think that's too hard a task for any team.
Yeah.
But I think whoever finishes the round in 8th will take 8th spot. That is, but Carlton lose all 3, and both of those teams could jump in. So that's why
it is
seriously go anyway.
I mean, if we had to predict, I feel like we should, because we've spoken about it.
Yeah.
And it might come back to bite us in the ass. But let's do it for the fun of it. Who ends this round in 7th and 8th? So Carlton are on 7th with 48 points. St Kilda are 8th with 44. Richmond are 9th with 42. The Dogs are 10th with 40. Richmond have 2 better percent than Carlton, and 10 better percent than the Saints, and 5 better percent than the Dogs.
So Carlton won't move. No matter if they win or lose. Oh, I'm just going off. Let's assume a loss. They won't move. They'll stay 7th, because I think we'd have to lose by a lot, and St Kilda would have to win by a lot.
Yep. There's an 8% gap.
Yeah, so I mean that's like plus 60, minus 60 either side. So it'd be unlikely. I see Richmond beating Port Adelaide quite comfortably, and I reckon come back to this clip in a week, and I do think it will be by around 10 goals. I seriously think they will put the foot down. I do not see this Port Adelaide side turning up, because what have they got to play for now? If they were smart, I'd just play for a high draft pick, and that means
not tanking, playing for picks,
just playing for a good pick. Yes, correct.
Difference, massive difference. So, do the Dogs beat the the Dockers? Because that has
Oh,
implications. If they win, that has massive implications.
it's a real tough one. I reckon if Freo beat Melbourne, Bulldogs would have won. But because Freo really have to like respond, because if they lose this, they're sort of in the same position as Carlton all of a sudden.
Well, if Freo lose and Carlton win, we jump them.
That's the thing. So I think like Freo have to win this as much as the Dogs need to as well. But I don't know. They got wiped by Geelong. I think that would have killed their confidence a bit. And they actually started well. Obviously, I don't think we watched because of our game, but
unfortunately,
just watching the score, they were doing well, and then they fell away. So I think Freo will win, but Dogs winning wouldn't surprise me.
Okay,
so
you're covering all bases there. I can see.
I'm covering all bases.
Yeah. So, would you say it's Carlton 7th, Richmond 8th to finish the round?
That is what I think will finish the round.
Yes. So that would be Carlton. That would happen if Richmond win and St Kilda lose, pretty much, because regardless of what Carlton do.
I mean, even if Carlton win, it will just be Carlton 6, Freo 7.
Okay.
It's still all close. But yeah, that's... Well, over to you. Yeah. Go ahead.
I would agree. I think... I genuinely think the round will finish with Carlton 6th, Fremantle 7th, and Richmond 8th. And I think Fremantle will jump Carlton, and the bottom two will be Carlton 7th, Richmond 8th. Actually, no, it'll be Richmond 7th, Carlton 8th until the end of the season. That's how the season will finish.
It is. Has there been a season like this close in recent times? I feel like it's only been for 8th spot. That's it.
Yeah, and it's always been between like 2 teams. Whereas, I mean, the Suns are outside chances. Who knows? Not on 9 wins. I doubt it, but if they make it, I mean, it won't happen. But let's just fantasize. So I mean, we'll revisit this next week, and we'll see how much of how right or how wrong we were. And if Richmond win by 10 goals, I will bring it up. And if Richmond lose by 10 goals, I'll bring it up. No worries about that. Let's move on. Let's stay in the finals, and let's go slightly further up. Let's go to the Lions. And I mean, I wrote on the run sheet. Have they wasted a rebuild because they can't win big games? I think now it's gone beyond the not luck of the draw, but it's gone beyond the this could happen in this game and etc. It's now, in my opinion, concrete proof Brisbane can't handle pressure. Plain and simple.
It is concrete. Well, I'd be very frustrated as a Brisbane supporter if it had been it's been. I mean, 2019 is when they started, and the first year when the team gets good, you sort of give them a year, and whatever happens, happens. 2020 was, in my opinion, a choke, considering the massive advantage they had that year.
Well,
didn't have to go.
Yeah, if they win the prelim, they probably win the flag.
That's the thing. They didn't have to go to Melbourne and win a flag, right in their own backyard. 21.
Bang again.
Straight sets.
Yep.
Yeah. And now it looks like even if they make the top 4, I would put money on it that they do it again in straight sets.
There's something about it, isn't it? There's just something that doesn't strike any confidence in them. Like I don't even know what it is, to be honest, because
they have a losing culture, but not like what Carlton had at the bottom. It's in the top. They have somehow a top 8 losing culture. It's weird to say. Is
it just mentally like there's something blocking them there? Is it a case of? Is it a case of if Bailey Smith doesn't kick the goal with 90 seconds left in the semi-final last year, they win and they go through to a prelim, that breaks that drought of winning games. Because granted, they won the qualifying, but qualifying is not a sudden death game.
Yeah.
So you are afforded, to an extent, you are afforded. I mean, not to an extent, you are afforded a second chance if you lose.
Yeah.
That is, they haven't won a knockout game in the finals.
It's definitely mental. It's
Of course, yeah.
It couldn't be anything else. They've got the talent. They've got the team to win games of football against good opposition. And I don't buy into the whole young team thing. It's been 3 years now, 4 at the end of the year. No, that doesn't apply because, like I said, the first time you can excuse it, and then afterwards it's like it's got to come down to mentality, and they clearly don't have it. And yeah, if you take out that one win, they have never won a sudden death game in finals.
I mean, Sunday afternoon was as close to a finals like atmosphere as you can get. I know there was only like 30,000 people there, but MCG, Richmond, Twilight, like, what more do you want? 7 goals up, cruising. And then to fall away like that has been kind of a very nice summation of just how poor and how mentally fragile. That's harsh. That is harsh. But I just feel that they don't have what it takes to beat the big clubs in big games with big consequences. Because if they win that game, they've pretty much all but secured top 4, in my opinion. Because I don't know what their run home is like, but if you can beat Richmond at the G, you can pretty much beat anyone. They've got St Kilda at Marvel and the D's at the Gabba, I think, and of course us on Sunday afternoon. If they beat the Tigers at the MCG, they have the confidence that they can say, yeah, we can beat anyone on any given day. Because that's probably one of the hardest tests in football.
I reckon they went into that game with them, like, at least the team mentality that if you win, you get top 4. Or something similar, because I don't think if they'd gone into that normally, they would have lost. I think they would have held on. I reckon they knew they had big implications, and I'd assume something said at halftime could have not thrown them off, but put some external pressure on them. So it's really interesting, and I'm sure, and how long can they avoid the media pressure and just general fan pressure around this sort of thing? It would get to them.
Yeah.
So
they haven't won a game at the MCG since 2014. That's why I say it's the biggest test in football for them, because
it is. Yeah.
There's probably not a harder team, maybe Melbourne are the exception, and maybe Geelong to an extent, that you can play at the MCG. So for them, that was the test. That's the litmus test for them, because if you want to win a flag, you got to win at the G. That's fact. So for them to crumble like they did, it reassured what I already knew, and that is they are a mentally feeble team that are unable to win big games against big teams. And I say this 100% knowing that we play them on Sunday afternoon. So we're going to record this next Monday. They're going to kill us by 10 goals, and it's going to be egg all over my face. But yeah, I'm just saying it how I say it, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't disagree with anything. Like I said, I've said a couple of times, my whole thing with them is that they're a good team, but they just don't want to accept that they can be great. I think they're just happy with being a good team that will beat bad teams and a couple teams around them, but they just accept that they're happy with getting in finals.
Yeah.
I don't think they embrace the challenge.
Yeah, I touched on this briefly, and I feel like this will be the point that we end on. Is there a way that can break this? Because like I said, if Bailey Smith just misses that kick last year in the semi-final and Brisbane scrape away with a 1-point win, is that what they need to just win by any cost? Like, win it all, just win. Any means, after the siren kick, whatever, just win one of those big games, one of those, not elimination finals, but sudden death finals? Is that all they need to do? Just win one somehow, and then the tide will turn? Or do you think this is a systematic issue?
No, I think I do. I think it's just down to a moment. And I think if they'd beaten Bulldogs, they would have gone to Adelaide and beaten Port Adelaide and done very similar to what Western Bulldogs did to them. I don't think they would have beaten Melbourne because, I mean, they didn't beat them the week before, but it takes just a moment. Just one thing to go your way, and it can change a lot. But I don't know. It's going to be a very interesting series for them, I think. It's hard because I wouldn't say that this is like the last year for them to compete because I still think they'll make top 8. But I think in terms of properly compete, like having a really decent chance at winning the premiership, this is probably their last year.
Yeah, I mean, I said we're going to end at that point, but a question just popped into my mind. Would they rather finish in the top 4, play Geelong? They'd probably play Geelong at the G. I think they're too big. They have too much of a Melbourne presence to play it at GMHBA. So let's just assume they play it at the G. They lose. Let's just assume that they do that and they lose. They would play a home semi with full knowing that they haven't won a knockout game in finals with his team. Would they rather that, or would they rather finish 5th, host a home elimination final against a Carlton or a St Kilda with confidence that we should just win because player for player, man for man, we are better. So let's just win. And that's the way they get over the hurdle, and then they can kick on from there.
It's a tough question. They're better off finishing higher just for general confidence, and because realistically, if like they're going to have to get to it at some point if they want to win a premiership. Yeah, just do it. Not the easiest way, but the most comfortable way. Just win, you know. Yeah, but do it in 4th rather than 5th, you know.
Yeah. I mean, it's easier said than done. I feel like they've learned that the hard way, really the hard way. Because if that was Carlton, and knock on wood, it's not us ever again, going out in straight sets, I could not do it. But let's finish that and let's go to the rest. Let's end on the rest moment of the round. Now, I think a peek behind the curtain. Saturday night has obviously gotten me so traumatic because the only moment I could have thought for the whole round was Darcy Fogarty going bananas, completely forgetting that Joel Selwood played 300 games, 350 games, and David Mundy 350, and David Mundy's retired. So, I mean, how you kick us off with Selwood, because let's not mention Darcy Fogarty.
I mean, I saw that moment of the round. I was like, yeah, someone's hurt. Someone's feeling it. Someone's feeling it. But
I haven't got no.
Just came to mind. I was like, okay, well, Selwood did play 350. He seems to play maybe it's just me. I swear he plays all his milestones at Geelong. Luckily, just falls that way. But most of the Geelong stars end up playing there. But he did play his 350th. Geelong got the win for him, and I wonder. Do you reckon he go just a very quick? Let's not expand. Does he go on one more year?
Yes,
he does go on one more year. So he should reach that 380 possibly. Should hit around there.
Yeah, and then maybe 370 almost definitely.
And then the last, like we said today, the news Monday, after 18 years in the system, I guess, retirement.
2004, I think he made his debut.
Something like that, but it's been a while.
It has.
It's been a while, and just a fun fact on that point, he's the first Freo player to wear every variation of the Freo Guernsey.
Oh, lovely! That's great.
So, nice little touching point to end.
There you go. It'd be good if his side could show up once in a while on a big stage, but I mean, I had to get that cheap shot in. They beat us over there on prime time. I feel like I'm owed it, or we're owed it anyway. So I think that's enough. Tick over 44 minutes. Nathan, thank you very much for joining me. Thank you all very much for watching. Leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Be sure to subscribe to the Blue Broad YouTube channel. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.